Hello and welcome to another Mordian Mondays. This is episode 90, and this week, guys, I'm super excited because I have finished painting. I started last week and I finished them in 1 week. 10 Neo Crusaders for my Scions. Absolutely love these models. Now, these are not official GW. They are alternative third-party Crusaders, and they were sent to me by a company called Halcyon Minitures. Absolutely fantastic little company run by one guy. He did a Kickstarter for the whole thing, and I actually did a community spotlight on these models because he does these and he does some stormtroopers and commissars and priests and all that kind of stuff. Really cool models. Highly recommend you go and check them out. In fact, there's going to be a link down in the description of this video to Halcyon Miniatures, and there will be at the end of this video a link to the community spotlight video I did on this, so you'll be able to learn everything you want to about these videos. I can highly recommend these models. They come in 3 parts. You've got the body and the arms, they're all in one piece, and then you've got the swords and the shields come separately. Super easy to put together, metal models, bit of super glue, job done. I really enjoyed painting these models. I think they're, this is not a sales pitch for Halcyon Miniatures. I just really like these models, and they're just super cool. I think they're a really nice mix of like plate armor, Crusader style stuff, but very much sci-fi at the same time. The helmets look really interesting, the swords look really interesting, the shields are obviously like riot shields, all that kind of stuff. So I just really enjoyed painting these models, and it's great because now I have another tick box in the list of I want to get all of the guard models at some point, and this is another unit down. Another unit down. It was a really bad way I phrased that sentence before, but we're doing it live, so let's carry on. But yeah, really enjoyed painting models. Really simple. The paint scheme I did them was actually really basic, and was why I managed to get them painted up so quickly, but I figured it was actually quite effective. And what I wanted with these models is I wanted them to match the Inquisitor, rather than them matching the Scion Regiment, which is black and blue. I wanted them to match the Inquisitor, which has got red armour. And so I wanted these guys to be clearly part of sort of the Inquisition side of things. And the reason I did that is because currently in the Guard book, Crusaders don't get like a regiment trait. They're counted up as auxiliary units. And so rather than painting them up as the same colour as the Scions, I wanted it to be distinct so that my opponents know, okay, the red guys do something different to the black and blue guys. It's just, with my Mordians, I haven't done it that way because the Mordians, everyone gets the green and blue colour scheme because I'm trying to keep it consistent. But they're my more narrative, fun army at the moment, and my Scions are very much my competitive army. So I wanted to make it easier for my opponent on the tabletop to be able to discern the difference between the units and what units belong to what regiments. That's kind of the rules-wise why I did it. In terms of fluff-wise, I just thought these guys are the bodyguard for my Inquisitor. And if you've ever read or listened to the Eisenhorn books, he often talks about inquisitorial soldiers, or the more like inquisitorial bodyguards that actually are sort of in and around the buildings of the Inquisition. I think there's like Lord Rorken of the Ordo Xenos has a bunch of these bodyguards, and he describes them as having like red armor and power swords. Now, so I kind of modelled them after that a little bit, except for I went for red on the shields because I figured if it was all red armor, I didn't really know what colour I'd do for the shields then. So I kind of, when I was painting them, I was kind of thinking of those inquisitorial bodyguards that are described in those books. So yeah, I just thought these looked really cool. And I'm really excited to just to use them. I think they look really good. Now, in terms of colours that I used, hobby-wise, I base coated them in Chaos Black or Baden Black, whatever the spray paint's called these days from Games Workshop, the basic black one. And then I just went over, dry brushed sort of, but quite a thick dry brush, silver for all the armour, and I used Ironbreaker. And then it was basically 2 thin coats of everything else. So 2 coats for the red, I used Mephiston red. For the gold, I used Retributor armor. I used to use Genna gold for my gold, but I've moved away, and I think Retributor armor looks much better than Genna gold now, fully converted to it. And then the power swords were done by, I did Calidor Sky, 2 layers of that, and then I actually glazed it, I suppose would be the term for it, in the technical paint Soulstone Blue. Because I really like the idea of the power swords I don't know, looking like they're glowing. And I know you're meant to use like the soulstone blue paint on like gems and stuff, but I've done it a lot on the power weapons, and it's not like the best looking power weapon. And some people do some amazing details on like multi-layered power weapons, multi-coloured power weapons, but I just think it's a very simple and effective way of designating if it's a power weapon or not a power weapon. It's very simple. It's a big glowy blue sword. That's what I go for. And I really like, it's really weird, I kind of like that the paint always looks wet. I don't know why I like that sort of effect, but I just do. You know, personal preference and all that. And then it was for the little bronze power packs, I used the GW GW bronze. Brass Scorpion. That's what I used. The little green vision slits on the shields were done with warp stone glow and washed in. And the washes I used, red was Carbo Crimson, Null Oil for pretty much everything else apart from the green, which got the GW green, which I think is Bell Tan green. It is Bell Tan green. There you go. That's the shade I used for that. The transfers were from Sisters of Battle transfer sheet. Now I have an absolute shed load of Sisters of Battle transfer sheets because I got a load of them for my Mordians, because I used them on the Mordian shoulder pads as the regimental symbol. I used the skull and cross transfers because I think it looks like a penitent crusade. So so that's why I've still got loads of Sisters of Battle transfers. I tend to find they're really good for adding that Inquisition-y, Gothic-y, extra detail to your models. I find, I do think this is the battle transfers are some of the best that Games Workshop has ever done. There's just a huge amount of variety on them. You've got everything from, you've got 2 different kinds of skull and sort of Templar cross motif. Then you've got burning chalices. I'm not so bothered about the rose ones. But I mean, if you could go for the rose ones if you were doing some sort of like historical Lancastrian army or something. That'd be kind of cool. And then also you've got like, you know, black skulls with halos. You've obviously got the classic sisters like Fleur de Lis and all that kind of stuff. But then you've just got loads of Inquisition symbols and scripture and all sorts of stuff that you can use to make your models look gothic and awesome. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoy painting these guys up. Now, I have actually had a practice game with them, and it's kind of funny because I totally misused them. So I meant to deploy them out of line of sight, and I misjudged it quite badly. It was just a practice game, and we sort of just threw the terrain down. And so they actually ended up getting shot to shit by a bunch of the AdMech big DACA robots. I know they're not as popular now as Qatari, but they're still powerful. I guess they're just very reasonable now. And they actually took a full volley from the DACA robots. Now bear in mind, I know the AdMech DACA robots have been toned down somewhat. I know that. But bear in mind, like, this is a little 10-man squad. DACA robots are like winning them on 2s. But I just put take cover on them, which meant that they were on a 2-up save. And the DACA bots are like AP -1. And I lost like, from like a 4-5-man squad of these DACA bots, whatever, like the max is like 4 of them. I lost like 6. And I was like, oh, that's pretty bad. And then I just regrew one in my turn on a 2+. I was like, yeah, I'll just get one back. And so even though I kind of misused them, and they basically were just used as they did retrieve Octarius data a couple of times, it was really interesting to see their effectiveness, as they were cheap, and when they got kind of shot up, unlike my Bulgrim, which I find very difficult to hide a lot of the time because they're so big, these have quite a small footprint and only one unit could see them. And even when I misplaced them, they died. They died, but they were quite tough because I could put them on a 2-up save very easily. And then it was like, even when they die, as long as like 1 or 2 of them stay around, you can start getting them back up on a 2+. And whilst it might take till like turn 3 or turn 4 before you're back to like 5 or 6 of them, that definitely is a strong, 5 or 6 is all you need for a decent counterpunch with Crusaders, because they've got full rerolls inbuilt. They've got Zealot. So, 5 of them is still 15 attacks with hitting on 3s with full rerolls. That's not bad at all. So And I also found that even though I wasn't regrowing them, what I was doing is I was just like, okay, well, I'll retrieve Octarius data this turn, and then next turn I was like, I don't want to regrow them because I actually want to get retrieve Octarius data again. So then what I did was I moved them and then moved them again and got them in some cover. For the next turn after that, I was then able to use them to move and move again and then retrieve Octarius data. And it was like, that's actually, you know, that unit has scored me 4 victory points after being badly mauled and me misplacing them. So this idea I had, and I did a whole video on Crusaders last week. It's the last video I did before this one. And that idea I had about them being a toolbox unit, about them having more flexibility than Bullgryns, definitely has been reflected in my first game. If I had misplaced my Bullgryns and they had been shot to crap and there was only like 3 Bullgryns left, that Bullgryn unit is essentially useless. It doesn't have the durability anymore. It doesn't have the punch anymore. It, you know, it can bully some small units, but that's about it. Whereas with my Crusaders, it was like, right, I may have lost like, you know, 60% of the unit, but I've got a choice here. Either I can spend a few turns and regrow them on a 2+, or I can just not worry about regrowing them and I can move them 12 inches a turn and just get them around the battlefield, scoring me victory points. They were getting engage points for me. They were getting retrieve Octarius data points for me. They were really, really interesting. So they are very much a toolbox unit. And I actually was very, despite the fact they killed nothing in their first game, they still scored me, I would say, 6 victory points, 7 victory points overall, between the retrieve Octarius data and the engage points they got me. And I was very impressed by the unit. It like I said, it's more, I won't repeat myself, it's just more of a toolbox, it's more flexible, you've got options with them, which you don't really have with Bullgryns. So, interesting, and so I will be taking these Crusaders, actually, to my next tournament. So, these Crusaders are going to form part of an army list that I'm taking to a tournament this weekend. It's my first grand tournament. Now, I wasn't sure about whether I was going to take my Imperial Guard, my Mordians, or I was going to take my Scions, but I figured what I would do is I've bought some more Torx Primes and stuff, and I'm going to get them all ready, and this grand tournament is going to kind of be the culmination of everything that I have learned about Scions over the last 2 months. And this is kind of going to be not necessarily the final chapter, but we're going to have a little bit of a pause on the Scions more than likely after this. Maybe, maybe not. But the point is that I've been running the Scion train hard for 2 or 3 months now, and I feel like this grand tournament is going to be a culmination of everything that I've learned. And we'll pause the Scion content there, and we'll go back to some good old Mordian Vanguard content, or maybe some Orcs or something like that. But yeah, so the Scions are going into battle. They've been to 2 one-day tournaments. They've performed okay. I've let them down, I would say. The army's done as well as it can do when I was making mistakes with them. But I must say, I've probably got 20 Scion games under my belt now. At the very least, I've got a dozen Scion games under my belt. This grand tournament, it's got 50 players, and there's only 2 guard players there. There's like 7 Admech, 6 Drukhari, 17 Marine players. So it's all meta all the way. There's Sisters, there's Death Guard. It's only out of the 50 players, only about 10 people running non-meta armies. And so this is going to be the real final true test of the Scions. And I'm going to report back on it, and then we'll know how far you can take them. And if they, if you can get if I can get a 50% win ratio with my Scions overall, or just above a 50% win ratio with my Scions overall, if I can go 3-2, that would be ideal. 2-3, I'd probably be a little bit disappointed. But if I can go 3-2, if I don't get white, the minimum goal is not to get whitewashed, not to go 0-5. I'm going to aim for 3-2, and if I do that, I'll have about overall with all my tournament Scion games, I'll have about a 55% win ratio. So we'll see how it goes. Very excited. The Crusaders are going to be forming part of the army. The rest of the army, it's going to be a bit of a doozy. It's going to be a doozy. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm not going to go through it in this video. I'm going to go through it in the next video. I'm going to break the army down, break the army list down. And that's something for you guys to look forward to later on this week. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave lots of comments and let me know what you think of the Crusaders. Let me know what you have been working on your hobbying stuff. I just love hearing about hobby progress. I love it. It's why I put these painting videos up. I enjoy my hobby progress, but more than that, I enjoy encouraging other people and to get their painting done and to do their hobby progress. Anyway, I'll stop waffling now. Thank you for watching, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.